Welcome to The Explainer. Today, we are digging into a pretty chilling threat assessment. It's called Project Winter Siege. Now, this isn't just about one thing going wrong. It's about how a single, tiny digital vulnerability could be used to deliberately trigger a massive crisis, one that spills over from your screen right onto your street.
All right, let's just start with this quote from the Intel brief because it really frames the whole thing perfectly. Think about it. The digital attack isn't the main event. It's the silencer. It's the quiet part that makes way for the bullet, the loud, real-world kinetic violence. So let's talk about the digital contagion, the threat that's apparently incubating right now. The whole thing kicks off with what the source material calls an invisible digital contagion. You've got to understand this isn't just some software bug. It's much more like a pre-positioned weapon, just sitting dormant inside our most important systems, waiting for the green light. And this weapon, it's got a name. React to shell. It's what's known as a class break vulnerability. What that means is it's not a flaw in an application, it's a flaw in the very blueprint of the technology itself, which allows for a massive system-wide failure. It acts a lot more like a biological virus than a computer bug. And get this, it only takes one single request for an attacker to get complete control of a server.
So, how fast is this thing spread? Well, they actually model it like a real pandemic. React to shell has what they call an R0, or reproduction number, of 6. That means for every single server that gets infected, it infects 6 more. This isn't a 1+1 kind of problem. This is exponential. You can see how this gets out of control fast. We're talking about a digital explosion here, something that's nearly impossible to stop once it's out of the gate.
Okay, so we have this digital virus spreading like wildfire. Where does it hit first? The financial system. This is the first domino to fall. And here's the twist. The goal isn't to steal your money. Nope, it's to make it so you just can't get to it.
And this is such a brilliant and frankly scary way to think about it. The attack uses the vault versus the window strategy. They're not trying to blow open the vault where your money is actually stored, those old secure mainframes. That's the hard part. Instead, they go after the easy part, the window. That's your banking app, the website you log into. So your money is technically safe, but it doesn't really matter, does it? Because they've just bricked up the only way you have to access it.
And this whole collapse is designed to roll out in 3 phases. Phase 1 is the glitch. It starts out looking like nothing, really. Your app is slow, a transfer gets delayed, you see that system maintenance message. You'd probably just ignore it. But then, phase 2 kicks in, the panic. Imagine waking up and your bank balance shows 0. You go to the store and your card is declined. This triggers a massive run on the ATMs. Then comes the final phase, the dry out. The same vulnerability that hit the banks now hits the logistics companies. The software for the armored trucks fails. The trucks stop rolling, and the ATMs, well, they just run out of cash.
And this is the absolute key moment. This isn't a cyber problem anymore. The financial lockout is just the trigger. It's the moment the digital crisis spills over, and I mean bleeds, into the physical world. And when that happens, a power vacuum is created, and a whole cast of characters, and none of them are good, steps in to fill it.
So who steps into this chaos first? Well, the pros. Organized crime. These groups already have the networks, the people, the logistics. For them, it's just a simple business pivot. You've got gangs using swarm tactics to take over entire apartment buildings, turning them into fortresses. At the same time, you've got cartels, who are masters of controlling routes, switching from moving drugs to controlling food and fuel trucks at critical choke points. They control the lifelines.
But the second threat actor, this one is maybe even scarier because it could be your neighbor. We're talking about a regular, law-abiding person, but when their family is starving, something called a moral override kicks in. All the normal rules of society just go out the window. A career criminal, you kind of know what they want, it's predictable. But a desperate parent trying to feed their kids, that's a whole different level of dangerous.
And how long does that moral override take to kick in? Well, the modeling is shockingly specific. 58 hours. That's it. A little over 2 days. Think about that. You missed just 9 meals in a row. According to the data, that is the statistical breaking point where the average person is likely to resort to violence to get what their family needs. It's the moment the social contract just shatters.
And finally, there's the third group, waiting in the wings, terrorist sleeper cells. For them, this kind of blackout is a golden opportunity. It's what they call a force multiplier. It means with all the chaos and with law enforcement completely overwhelmed, they can strike targets that would normally be impossible to get near. They can hit critical infrastructure, water treatment plants, power substations, to maximize damage and make sure the crisis lasts as long as possible.
So you have to ask yourself, is all this chaos just random? Well, according to this assessment, absolutely not. In fact, it's all part of a much bigger, much more cynical plan. The violence on the streets, that's not the goal. It's just the tool.
It's a textbook move, actually. It's called the strategy of tension. The whole idea is to make a population so terrified, so desperate, that they're willing to give up any freedom just for a little bit of safety. You scare them into begging for someone to come in and take control.
And it works in a simple three-step loop you might have heard of. Problem, reaction, solution. First, you create the problem. The chaos, the fear from these invisible invaders where no one knows who to trust. Then you just wait for the reaction. The public screaming, do something, we need to know who is who. And then bingo, you roll out the solution you had in your back pocket the whole time. In this scenario, a mandatory digital ID system, which just so happens to give the state total control.
Okay, so that's the threat. It's pretty grim stuff. But understanding the problem is only half the battle. What can you actually do about it? This is where the source material shifts gears to what it calls the Oikos defense protocol. Oikos is a Greek word for the household, the basic building block of society. All right, protocol number 1, and this is maybe the most important. Achieve analog redundancy. Basically, you need backups for your digital life that don't need power or the internet to work. That means cash, a month's worth of expenses, in small bills like 10s and 20s. Why? Because nobody can make change in a blackout. It means printing out hard copies of your bank statements. That's physical proof you own what you own. And hey, maybe don't put all your money in an online-only bank that doesn't have a real door you can walk through.
Okay, next up, let's talk supplies and security. That old advice about having a 2-week emergency kit, according to this, you can forget it. The new minimum here is a 3-month reserve of food, water, and medicine. You need that strategic depth. And at the same time, you've got to think about home security in layers. Think deter, detect, delay, and disengage. Make your home look like a difficult target. Have ways to know if trouble's coming. Make it hard for them to get in, and, this is key, have a plan to get out if you really have to.
And the last piece of the puzzle is all about discipline. It's about how you behave when things go sideways. So after day 3, you have to treat all major highways and bridges as potential kill zones. At night, use blackout curtains. Don't be the one house on the block advertising that you have lights and power. And stay away from obvious soft targets like shopping malls or stadiums. They're just magnets for the worst kind of trouble.
And that really brings it all home, doesn't it? The core idea behind this entire defense strategy is just a return to first principles. It's simple. In a world where complex digital systems are designed to fail, your best bet is to rely on the simple, analog things you can actually hold in your hand.
So that leaves us with this final question. And this isn't about promoting paranoia. It's about looking at the reality of the threats out there with clear eyes and just taking smart, disciplined steps to be ready. So you have to ask yourself, which keys are you holding right now?